It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. I'm Candace Gish. Well, everyone, I'm going to be introducing you to a new diva to our family. Her name is Kate Ward, and Kate is absolutely extraordinary. I had the opportunity, just prior to her program, actually, going through her website, and I'm blown away. And a lot of you listeners have been with us for about 10 years now. And Kate is a textile artist. And the reason why I'm excited is because I have a passion, and I love to kind of hide away in my office, and I love to do different types of artwork. I love to rug hook, and I like to spin. And I haven't told a lot of people that. So when I went to her site, I was like overwhelmed with joy to be able to talk with her. So I'm excited to learn all about her with all of you today. So Kate, welcome to our program today.
Oh, thank you so much, Candace. It's wonderful to be here. I love that you're a closet creator.
You know what? It's one of those things that I've always done in my life just to help relieve, the stresses of life. Everybody finds their different things, and I found that I really enjoyed doing different types of art. And my recent ones for the last few years have definitely been rug hooking and learning how to spin. So,
oh, my
a
word.
little crazy, but Kate, before we kind of dive into all the questions that I have for you, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself with all of our listeners today?
Yes, absolutely. I was giving this some thought, and it's really difficult to kind of know where to start. So I thought, well, I'll start at the beginning and probably my earliest textile memory. And I was digging back through some old family albums, and there's a picture of me in my at my grandfather's farm, and I'm sitting on his rocking chair, and I would have been about 4. I had these blonde little braids, and I was sitting there focused intently on my knitting. And I suddenly thought, my goodness, I can't believe I've been doing this pretty much since I could walk. And it's pretty much been a story of creativity ever since. So I grew up in a family where we were encouraged to knit and sew and make our own clothes. And it was kind of one of those things that I just loved doing. And anyway, at high school, one of my friends said, hey, I want to study textiles. Do you want to study it with me? And I'm like, I already know how to sew. I don't think I'll bother. And she's like, come on, why don't you join me? And I'm like, oh, all right then, why not? So I did. And my teacher, she's like, oh, you should really think about taking this further. Why don't you go to art school? And so that kind of seemed like the natural progression. And I studied textiles at art school in Australia. And it's kind of just gone from one serendipitous event to another. And here I am today, still creating and having a wonderful time sharing it with others.
Oh, I love that. And you are creating some amazing things. What made you decide to develop the program you have? Like, I definitely want to talk about that, because when I had the opportunity to go through your website, I'm like, this is really neat and it's really cool. How did you decide to do something like that to share it with so many others?
Well, I guess it kind of boils down to a couple of things. So one thing that is really what I'm quite passionate about is the environment and recycling and doing what we can kind of on that side of things. And so for our listeners, what I do is a program called Zen Stitching. So it's all about learning how to stitch, and it's all about learning how to repair and mend our clothes. But it also combines the beautiful aesthetics of the Japanese sashiko, and that is an art form that was developed as a need, pretty much because about 100 years ago they didn't have access to a lot of resources, so everything was used and reused and reused, and from that they created these most beautiful stitches which not only repair your clothes, but also decorate your clothes as well. And so I just love the aesthetic of the Japanese stitch. It's incredibly simple. It's just a running stitch, but the way they put it together, it forms these quite complex patterns. And so the logical part of my brain was really quite intrigued as to how these patterns could be created, and then combining it with mending my clothes at the same time. So it's just kind of become a really lovely melting pot of all my passions.
Well, I think you've got the right idea, because they're absolutely brilliant. I think when I saw them, I wasn't too sure. I'm like, this is really beautiful, and everything that you're doing, and it really drew my attention. Like I felt like I wanted to go out and learn how to do this because it was so pretty. And now that you're explaining that, the history of it, I think this is extraordinary. And now you have some online classes that you're teaching others to do this. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So it's, oh gosh, I just love sharing, and it's such a wonderful way to connect with others through teaching these wonderful techniques. So I have an online presence where I teach workshops online, and that's kind of come about in response to COVID and not being able to get together in person. And it's been a really lovely way to connect with people. I found that was really helpful for me to engage with others, and also the feedback as well. Everybody really enjoyed this online community where people could get together and learn how to create these stitches, but also share it in a forum where people could inspire one another as well. So that was kind of generated in response to what's been happening in the world over the past 6 months or so. But I've been teaching this process probably for about 4 or 5 years now. So it all started when I had a pair of jeans that they were my studio jeans when I was studying at art school, studying my MFA, and they weren't very precious, and I thought, well, they're good jeans to muck about in. It doesn't matter if they get dirty or damaged or anything like that. And because I wore them so much, they pretty soon got holes in the knees and around the bottom area and all that kind of thing. So I'm like, well, I don't really want to go out and buy new jeans to work in the studio. I'd much rather make do and mend the ones that I have at the moment. So I started mending and reinforcing all these holes, and that kind of just generated interest. I'd be walking down the street and people would say, wow, I love what you're doing. Do you teach that? And so it kind of was a bit of a, natural progression. I'm like, yeah, okay, why not? Let's get together and we'll have some fun and learn these stitches and enjoy doing it at the same time.
I love that. And I love what you had said previously. You were talking that you had designed this because of, obviously the COVID-19. And, as a person who lives in a community that you have to drive everywhere in order to get to somewhere to take a class, I love that because I love to be able to learn. But sometimes, I don't want to drive an hour just to take a class to drive an hour home. And so I always look for online things because I want to learn so badly, but there was never a lot of opportunities. I couldn't find a lot of things for myself to learn. So I love that aspect of it. And I love that you want to obviously to inspire others to do things like this because it is such a neat type of art and you're incorporating it into something that people can use all the time. And it's something that I think I have 4 daughters and I was like, this is something that they would love to do.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, the fun thing is, everybody from all ages just really identifies with working with their hands. I've found it's quite fascinating because I also teach school children, and I'll go into a classroom. This is like kids who are 7, 8, 9, that kind of age, and they don't know how to thread a needle and they don't know how to tie a knot. And I'm also always a little bit apprehensive because I'm like, I'm not sure if they're going to enjoy this process. But there's something about working with the fingers that totally engages them. And, you know, you can almost hear a pin drop in the room as they're all sitting and focusing on doing their stitches and learning how to create these patterns. And one of my workshop participants, she said, I just love learning this because I have teenage daughters and you just never know how long it's going to take them to get ready. So I can quietly sit and do some stitching, and I'm happy, they're happy, and everyone's happy. So it's a really, you know, it's a really great way to slow down and focus and spend some time contemplating at times too. It's a great thing to do. That.
Well, you know, your mind is off this. It helps with relieving that stress. And I think nowadays we are all looking for something to almost tune out the world. There's been so much going on for so long, and it's become so overwhelming, you know, and it's affected every person on the planet. And I think having something, you know, if this is something that a person loves, this would be such an extraordinary thing. Especially, you know, I like to meditate and I like to do it. I'm like, I could just see myself immersing myself doing this because it's relaxing, but at the same time you can create. And that's what I like to do, is I like to create things.
Exactly. And that's kind of one of the reasons, or how I fell into doing this as well, because I had to create a sampler for one of the classes that I was teaching, because I knew it all off the cuff, but we needed something to demonstrate to other people what you're going to create in this class and how you're going to do it. And it was in a time of my life when I was busy rushing around from job to job, and I didn't really have much spare time to just sit and relax. But through having to sit down and create this sampler, I realized that it was my permission to myself to be able to just sit and create. And, you know, sometimes when we're so busy all the time, we don't allow ourselves that permission to just sit and create. So if you've got something that's a tangible product at the same time, then you can kind of say, well, you know, if I'm sitting and stitching and I'm creating this thing, then it's okay.
No, exactly.
Yeah, and you know, it is when I was doing some stitching just last week, and I was thinking, you know, because you do sit and you generally sit still, and you're generally in a space where it's, you know, kind of quiet and peaceful around you, and I was thinking, you know, when you sit and stitch, it's not just, you know, the self-love and the self-care of sitting and finding some time to, you know, if you're creating something beautiful and decorative, but you might be mending your clothes, for example, and that in turn is your contribution to mending the environment, you know, just through saving one pair of jeans. It's phenomenal what a flow-on effect that has by saving water, CO2 emissions, you know, just things going into landfill. So it's so positive on that aspect as well. But it's such a beneficial process for our spirit or our psyche just to sit and relax. Like you say, it is a form of meditation. You know, your hands are busy and you're engaged with what you're creating, and you kind of it becomes very tactile. So you hear the sound of the thread being pulled through the fabric, and you can feel the needle as you're moving around as well. So it's a process where it engages all of your senses to create these wonderful things. So it's a great way to just relax. Yeah.
Well, it sounds so much fun. And, you know, and it's funny that, you know, this is all transpiring now. I find that more people, their mindset has changed quite a bit. You know, there's more people that are wanting to get into gardening. You know, there's more people that are wanting to, you know, have chickens. You know, there's a process going on in the universe. I don't know what you would say that's going on, but I think more people are trying to get back to the basics almost. They're trying to figure out how they can be more self-sufficient. And I think having a skill like this is really a part of that process that a lot of people are going through.
Yes, it's so true. It's in some senses, it's a simplicity, isn't it? You kind of like getting rid of all the unnecessary by just going back to those basics. And it's quite freeing in some senses to kind of set those parameters to yourself, where you might be like, well, I don't need to go out and buy a whole lot of clothes. I can make do with the ones that I've got. Or wouldn't it be fun if I decided to just keep this one pair of jeans and keep mending them and mending them and mending them and see what happens to them. So, it's quite an interesting process. And I think it's wonderful that more and more people are wanting to get back to those kind of aesthetics and way of life, because I think it's wholesome, and I think, you have a sense of satisfaction and achievement through working with your hands, through connecting with the earth, through connecting with those materials that you just can't get through sitting at a computer.
Oh, I agree completely with that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to ask you also is that you do have a whole bunch of online courses that you offer, and then you have workshops. Are you planning on doing some of the workshop more of your online courses that you're doing in your workshops? Like, I noticed that you've got some other ones that are not currently on your online stuff, but is that something that you're looking at doing?
Yes, so I, because I studied textiles quite broadly, I can do a number of different techniques and processes. And so I do offer lots of different workshops in a whole lot of different things. So there's screen printing and there's working with natural dyes. So that's something that I've just completed a course working on that. And that's been a lot of fun, just being able to make colour on your fabric by what you can find in your environment around you, and the different ways that you can go about doing that. So it's definitely an ongoing process of converting in-person workshops to putting them online. And and so one of the great things about the stitching is it's one of those things, and this is, I think, why I keep returning back to textiles, is you don't need a lot of materials. Like you don't need a whole studio full of equipment, or anything like that. So long as you have a pair of scissors and some material and a needle, you can pretty much create something, and it's quite transportable as well. So if you're moving about all the time, or, you're not kind of fixed to one location. So I think the minimalism in the actual materials, I think, is also quite interesting too. But yes, so there is, I do offer the in-person workshops, which are slowly starting back up again, but we're all keeping our distance and wearing our masks and being very cautious. So the online world is a great way to share that knowledge, and I like to do Zoom conversations so we can get together and chat and talk about the process and what we're learning about, and if we're coming across any things that we're struggling with, and inspiring others. So I love it because I enjoy engaging with everybody who's learning. I think people who are interested in these kind of techniques are just such lovely people.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. So one of the things is we have a lot of listeners on a global scale. We're listening to in over 30 countries. Your online courses, that's probably going to be a great thing for people that are not in your area, because you are actually located in Nova Scotia, correct?
That's right. Yeah. So I'm over in Nova Scotia, Canada at the moment, and I think some people might be getting a bit confused because I have an Australian accent. So that's where I grew up. But yes, I think it's great these days that you can do so many things online. So you're not limited by your geography. Like what you were saying earlier, you don't have to jump in your car and drive an hour to do a course and then drive back home again. You can simply log online and learn everything at your fingertips. And one of the great things, it's awesome. I love that too. I just think it's fabulous, because I would quite often, and still do, drive, a number of hours to give my in-person workshops. So it's kind of saves on time and the environment when you don't have to travel all the time. And
I was going to ask you also, No, that's okay. I'll interrupt you there. Are your classes, your online ones right now, are they currently, can students watch them and take the courses? Because one of the things that's happened with this COVID-19 is that there's more and more families that are homeschooling, and they're always looking for things to do. So can these families use do your product, or can these families do these projects? Yeah.
Yes. And that's what I was going to say. One of the great things about the course online is I have these fabulous close-up shots of how everything is created. So, if you're in a workshop on a personal scale, it's really hard to, everyone has to crowd around the table and see what I'm doing, which is, it can be quite so. The videos themselves, they're blown up, so you can see exactly step by step how everything's done. And you can pause, you can rewind, you can look at it again. And so it's really great to kind of reinforce how to do something, because if you're new to it, it takes a little bit to kind of get comfortable with the process and how you do these things and what steps come first and all that kind of stuff. And for those people who would like to kind of get a taster for it, but are not yet, not quite sure if it's something for them, I also have a YouTube channel as well that has how to do some of this Zen stitching or the sashiko and how you can apply it to mending your clothes. And if you just Google Zen stitching YouTube, you should be able to find it there.
Well, that'll be perfect. And one of the things I'm going to be doing for all of our listeners is that I will be posting Kate's information on all of our social media so that you can share it with all of your friends and family.
Yes, absolutely. And I have a little something special for you and your listeners. I've put together a document which helps you through those first couple of steps of how to get started, what materials you need, and kind of just the first steps on what to do and what to do next. So I'll also share that with you as well. So I'll give
you so
that
much
to include in the show notes. You're welcome.
I love that. And I love how we are able to connect with you today, because this has been amazing, Kate. I've learned so much just talking to you. I'm so excited. And for myself, I'm excited about having my daughters and I take some of your classes, because I think this is something that we're really going to like. With the COVID-19, we're not able to do the things that we were doing in the before, like a lot of our sporting activities and stuff. And so we've changed our thought process on the things that we're going to be doing. And this is something that we have been looking for. And I'm just so excited to be able to share it with them after our program today.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm super excited that you're super excited by it too. And I'd love to see some pictures of what you create, because that's where the magic happens, is that the community of like-minded people getting together and doing some stitching and having some fun.
Oh, I know. I get so excited about stuff like that. So one of the things I'm going to ask, I always ask our amazing divas that come on our program, I ask them, is there any last-minute tips, tools, things you'd love to share with our listeners today?
Oh, let's see. That's a really good question. I'd say probably one of the things that I think this is a great medium for is making some time or finding some time in your life to just sit down and have some still time. Like we're so busy with all of our different commitments and, time doing one thing and time doing something else. So it's really quite rewarding to sit down and just do some simple stitching. And the nice thing is it's a running stitch. So it's just a process of sitting down and letting your needle, I call it taking your needle for a walk. So you let your needle guide you on your fabric, and it takes you on a journey of where it wants to go.
That is beautiful. I love that. And it sounds like it'll be quite a relaxing experience. So thank you so much. Well, Kate, I've had a great time. I want to thank you so much for being my amazing guest today. I hope that you will come back on my program again, because as I said, I really loved learning, and I can't wait to learn what you're doing. And as I said, come back on, and then maybe we can share some more things.
Oh, that sounds lovely. I'd be delighted to. Thank you, Candace.
Oh, you're welcome. And a big shout out to all of our amazing listeners. It's because of you that we've continued to do this program for over 10 years. Thank you for all of our listeners for supporting the Divas That Care. Thank you for supporting all of the amazing hosts that are on our network now, because of all of you. Make sure that you check out Kate Ward, and I'm going to be sending all that information on all of our websites and all of our social media after our program today. Thank you again, Kate. Thank you, our listeners, and I hope that you do something kind for somebody. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.